We're diving into some pretty deep stuff today.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about the soul,
Yeah.
its journey, and, what happens after this life.
Big questions.
Huge questions. I mean, this is something that people have been thinking about for centuries.
Yeah, definitely.
And we're going to see how the Baha'i writings approach these mysteries.
All right.
And we're looking at selections from Baha'u'llah and Abdul Baha. And then to add a little bit more context, we'll use some of Shoghi Effendi's letters as well.
I think what's really fascinating about the Baha'i writings is that they don't just offer beliefs about the soul,
Yeah.
but they actually connect those beliefs to practical living.
Right.
It can really change how you see your purpose in this life and beyond.
Absolutely. You've probably spent some time thinking about what the soul really is.
Oh, for sure.
Baha'u'llah uses this really striking image. He calls it a heavenly gem,
Okay.
a sign of God.
Mm-hmm.
What do you make of that description?
I think it suggests that the soul isn't just some kind of product of our physical bodies.
Right.
But it has a divine origin. It has a connection to something greater than ourselves. And I think, like a gem, it has this unique brilliance, a capacity to reflect light.
So it's not something we create, it's something we discover and refine.
Exactly. And I think that refinement happens as we develop our spiritual qualities
Okay.
and strive to live in alignment with God's will.
So Baha'u'llah also talks about the soul's continued existence and evolution after death.
Yes.
And he even uses this analogy of leaven transforming dough
Okay.
to describe how the soul can benefit the world even after we're gone.
Wow.
How does that work exactly?
I think it's such a powerful image.
Yeah.
Just think about how, a small amount of leaven can cause a whole batch of dough to rise.
Right.
And transform. And similarly, the impact of our spiritual growth, our efforts to cultivate virtues can continue to influence the world around us long after we're gone.
So it's about that ripple effect.
Yeah.
Our actions, the qualities we develop.
Precisely every act of kindness, every effort to be, just every moment that we choose love over hate, all of that contributes to a positive transformation within ourselves
Right.
and in the world around us. And that influence continues to spread even after we leave this physical plane.
That makes me think about a question that a lot of people have when they explore the afterlife,
Okay.
reincarnation.
Yeah,
And it's a concept that's found in a lot of different spiritual traditions.
for sure.
Where does the Baha'i faith stand on that?
So this is where I think we get into some crucial distinctions.
Okay.
When the Baha'i faith emerged, reincarnation was a really widely held belief.
Right.
And so Abdul Baha directly addresses this, and he explains that while scriptures do mention return,
Okay.
it refers to the return of qualities and conditions, not individual souls taking on new bodies.
So not the same soul in a new body, but similar qualities manifesting again.
Exactly. He gives this example of a lamplight or a rose returning.
Okay.
We might say the light or the rose is back, but it's not the same entity.
Similar qualities reappearing. I'm starting to see the difference.
Yeah.
It's more about the essence of things, the patterns, rather than a specific individual soul being reborn.
Yes, and this distinction, I think, becomes even more clear when you consider the implications.
Okay.
If great spiritual figures were constantly reincarnating,
Right.
why would they willingly return to a world filled with suffering?
Yeah.
Their purpose wouldn't be to relive individual lives,
Right.
but to inspire and guide humanity's progress.
That makes sense. It kind of shifts the focus from individual experiences to a broader, more universal purpose.
Exactly.
And to solidify this, Shoghi Effendi in his letters explicitly states that the Baha'i faith doesn't believe in individual souls returning in different bodies.
Right.
And he even contrasts it with the Hindu concept of reincarnation,
Yeah.
emphasizing that the soul's evolution continues in a different form after death, not a cyclical return to physical life.
That's a good distinction.
And he also points out that modern psychology has taught that the capacity of the human mind for believing what it imagines is almost infinite.
Oh, wow.
It encourages us to approach claims of past lives with a healthy dose of critical thinking,
Okay.
recognizing that our minds can create very convincing narratives.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So while personal experiences are valid,
Mm-hmm.
it's important to consider other perspectives and explanations.
Right.
So if the soul doesn't return in the same way, what does happen to it after death?
Well, Abdul Baha shed some light on this.
Okay.
He explains that the soul remains in the degree of purity that it achieved during its physical life.
Okay.
Once freed from the body, it continues to evolve spiritually drawing closer to God. And this journey towards divine perfection becomes the central focus of its existence after death.
So it's like this journey continues,
Yes.
but in a different realm.
Exactly.
And it's all about moving closer to God.
That's the idea.
So we've kind of established that the soul is this eternal entity with like boundless potential for growth. But then that raises the question, how do we actually nurture this heavenly gem while we're here on Earth?
Well, if we go back to Baha'u'llah's writings,
Okay.
we see this beautiful idea that the soul reflects the light of God. And this implies that there's this inherent connection to the divine.
Right.
This capacity for goodness and spiritual illumination that's already within us.
So it's not about creating something from scratch.
Right.
It's about recognizing and cultivating what's already there.
Exactly.
What would you say are some practical ways to do that?
I think one key aspect that Baha'u'llah emphasizes is detachment.
Okay.
In fact, he refers to those who embody detachment as the leaven of the world.
Sure.
Yeah, drawing a parallel to that analogy we discussed earlier.
Well, detachment can be kind of a tricky concept.
Yeah.
What does it actually look like in everyday life?
I think it's not about retreating from the world or giving up material possessions altogether. It's more about freeing ourselves from excessive attachment to worldly things, possessions, desires, and even our own egos.
So finding a balance between engaging with the world
Yeah.
and not letting it consume us.
Exactly.
What are some like practical tips for finding that balance?
I think it starts with recognizing that true happiness and fulfillment, they don't come from accumulating more,
Okay.
but from spiritual growth and connection with the divine.
Right.
Abdu'l-Baha makes this powerful observation
Yeah.
that in the material world, everything eventually declines and decays.
Okay.
But the soul only moves towards perfection.
That's a really striking contrast.
It is.
So like while the material world is bound by these cycles of growth and decay,
Yeah.
the soul is on this like eternal trajectory of ascent. How do we make sure that our actions in this life contribute to that upward movement?
So I think the Baha'i writings place a lot of emphasis on acquiring virtues.
Okay.
Kindness, compassion, honesty, justice. It's about integrating these spiritual principles into our daily lives.
Yeah.
Not just contemplating them as abstract ideas.
So it's about translating those lofty ideals into tangible actions.
Exactly.
Would you say like every act of kindness, every effort to be just, every time we resist those lower impulses,
Yes.
it contributes to the soul's progress?
Absolutely. It's like we're constantly refining and polishing that heavenly gem
Right.
through our choices and actions.
But what about when we stumble?
Yeah.
What about when we make mistakes?
Well, remember, the soul is eternal.
Okay.
It's not about reaching some state of perfection in this lifetime.
Right.
It's about continually striving to move closer to God.
So this life is just one chapter
Yes.
in a much larger story.
Precisely. And the Baha'i writings are very clear that even after death,
Okay.
the soul continues to evolve, constantly drawing nearer to God.
That's a very hopeful thought.
It is.
And it also kind of highlights the importance of this earthly life
Right.
as a preparation for what comes next.
It is a crucial chapter
Yeah.
because the choices we make here, the qualities we develop, and the actions we take all contribute to the soul's ongoing journey.
It feels like a lot of responsibility when you put it that way.
It is a responsibility, but it's also incredibly empowering.
Okay.
You know, we have the ability to shape the course of our own spiritual evolution,
Right.
both in this world and beyond.
And the Baha'i writings provide us with the tools and the guidance to do just that.
Yes,
They offer this roadmap for living a life that nourishes the soul,
Yeah.
that is truly meaningful, purposeful, and conducive to that eternal progress.
I love that.
So we've covered a lot in this deep dive.
We have.
You know, the nature of the soul,
Right.
its journey, its limitless potential.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm curious about the practical side of things.
Okay.
How do we actually apply these concepts to our daily lives?
Well, that's where I think the Baha'i writings really shine.
Okay.
They offer this wealth of practical guidance, outlining specific actions we can take
All right.
to nurture our souls and contribute to their eternal progress.
I'm all about those actionable steps.
Right.
What are some of those tools we can use today?
Well, prayer is one of the most fundamental tools.
Okay.
Baha'u'llah describes prayer as a conversation with God, a way to connect with the divine and draw strength and guidance.
So it's like a direct line
Yeah,
to a source of spiritual energy and inspiration?
it is, and it doesn't have to be a formal or ritualistic practice.
Right.
It can be as simple as pausing throughout the day to reflect,
Okay.
express gratitude, or seek direction.
Yeah.
It's about nurturing that connection with the divine.
Service to others is another concept that seems to resonate
Yeah.
across a lot of different spiritual traditions.
Mm.
What role does it play in the Baha'i teachings?
It's absolutely central. Baha'u'llah emphasizes the importance of earning a livelihood,
Okay.
providing for ourselves and our families for the love of God.
So it's not just about grand gestures of philanthropy.
Right? It's about integrating service into our everyday lives.
Yes, exactly. It could be something as straightforward as lending a hand to a neighbor,
Okay.
volunteering in our communities, or even simply being kind and considerate in our interactions with others.
I see it as approaching each interaction as a chance to
Yeah.
put our spiritual values into action.
That's a beautiful way to frame it.
Yeah.
And the act of serving others not only contributes to a better world, but it also nourishes our own souls in the process.
And I can see how shifting our focus outward,
Yeah.
away from our own self-centered concerns,
Right.
can be really transformative for our spiritual growth.
The Baha'i writings highlight this point, encouraging us to detach from our egos and cultivate humility.
It's about recognizing that we're not the center of the universe.
Right.
And acknowledging that there's a much bigger picture at play.
Exactly.
Where does the pursuit of knowledge fit into this framework
Yeah.
of nurturing the soul? Education is highly valued in the Baha'i writings, both spiritual and material.
Okay.
There's this strong emphasis on the importance of gaining knowledge,
Okay.
developing our intellects, and contributing to the advancement of civilization.
So spiritual growth isn't meant to be this isolated pursuit.
Right.
It's about engaging with the world and using our knowledge and talents to make a positive impact.
Yes. The acquisition of knowledge is viewed as a spiritual obligation,
Interesting.
a way to fulfill our potential and contribute to the progress of humanity.
It seems like our souls are in this constant state of evolution, shaped by our inner spiritual development,
Yeah.
as well as our engagement with the world around us.
It is a dynamic process.
Yeah.
This constant interplay between our inner and outer lives,
Right.
and the Baha'i teachings offer the tools and guidance that we need to navigate that journey,
Okay.
to nurture our souls and contribute to their eternal progress.
As we wrap up our deep dive into the Baha'i writings on the soul, I feel a sense of both responsibility and tremendous hope.
Yeah.
Responsibility to make choices that align with my spiritual aspirations.
Right.
And hope that this journey of growth and learning
Yeah.
continues beyond this earthly life.
That's the heart of it.
Yeah.
We have the power to shape our spiritual path both in this world and the next. And the Baha'i teachings offer a guiding light on that journey.
Okay.
They remind us that this physical life is just one stage
Right.
of a much grander, more awe-inspiring adventure.
Well, thank you for illuminating these profound concepts
You're welcome.
and for showing how they can be applied to our lives in practical ways.
Of course.
I encourage everyone listening to explore the Baha'i writings for themselves.
Yes.
And discover the transformative power they hold